Alright, just a brief on what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about multiple severe weather setups in tropical systems. So what we're looking at now is the weather setup we've been seeing the past few days and around a week now. What this is a trough in the east, or cold air in the east, and a ridge in the west, or warm air in the west. And essentially what that means is you're not getting much in terms of severe weather in that ridge and in that trough. But on the line of that, and where the jet stream is where the severe weather will be happening. So examples like Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois area. Then it's going to become warmer air in the east as that trough finally gives way to a warmer air. This will bring in a bit of a heat wave to the eastern United States. Then that turns into colder air coming into the west as a trough and warmer air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico as a ridge. This will be a lack of wind shear in the east, which will cause more problems, which we'll talk about after we go through the SPC outlook now. Okay, to start us off in the SPC outlook, we have a day 1 enhanced risk of severe weather in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and like a very tiny slither of Michigan. That goes with a 5% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles, and a very large 2% to go with that as well as one in Florida now. Then we have a 30% chance of seeing damaging winds in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and again, tiny slither of Michigan. Same thing here with hail, except this has a asterisk on it instead of just being a plain 30%. Then day 2, we also have an enhanced risk of severe weather. This one has a much lower tornado threat with only a 2%, as you can see there. Chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles. So still watch out for massive hail, wind, and tornadoes in those areas. You can see here, we also have that 30% chance of 30% chance of damaging winds within 25 miles as well there too. Same thing with hail, massive hail expected. Very bad damaging winds also expected due to a linear mode that will attempt to develop. Then we have this day 3, slight risk of severe weather too. This will have a small tornado risk, but it's still there, along with hail and wind. On the day 6, we have a 15% chance of seeing severe weather or a slight risk. Here's a simulated radar. And as simulated radar shows, supercells will fire into a linear mode. Peak tornado potential just before sunset, most likely. Major hail and wind will be the most concerning factor of that. But as you can see, as soon as we get into the night, like midnight hours, those just completely disappear before they refire the next day on the day 2 outlook in Illinois, Missouri, and Iowa. And they move into Indiana. They start to weaken out once they get there. Back to what I was saying, that high pressure in the east might cause some problems, is because it gives way for tropical systems to make its way into the southeast. But there is an exception to that. And that exception is, if this high pressure gets strong enough, it will drive the tropical systems away once they get near it. So that is what we're hoping out for. Remember, that does not mean we're not going to see anything at all. Which this proves my point here. This is the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. They're predicting a 10% chance of development currently within Florida as it gets off the coast of the Carolinas, which I'll show you now. So tonight and tomorrow we could see very heavy downpours in southern Florida, just to the west of Miami. That will begin to organize ever so slightly out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and up to North Carolina as well. That does have the chance of becoming a tropical depression, and on the high end, a tropical storm. I will get you a very zoomed in close look at that here in just a moment. And here that is. You can see a very prominent low pressure system will most likely develop off the coast of North and South Carolina. This is about 200 miles offshore. Expect maybe some bigger waves than you would normally see on the Carolina coast. This does have the chance of becoming a tropical depression or storm. In a very, very early heads up, some models are showing possible tropical systems impacting these areas of the Gulf Coast coming up in the next few weeks. Remember, that is very preliminary still. And for more information on this year's hurricane season, go check out the estimate forecast for this year.